I was raised by my dad for the most part. I am the oldest of 3 girls, so that sort of means, it generally just means I am really good at emotional abuse. Which is to say, I am very good at razzing people generally, but very specifically my sisters. Because I know them so intimately based on us being related, I am very good at getting to the heart of any matter with them and just like finding what it is that would drive them nuts and just like picking at it until we're all either laughing or crying. So, you know, I've hurt their feelings on occasion. I've unintentionally ended many friendships, you guys. That all sort of makes me sound like a shitty person. I promise you I'm not. That's just a thing in our family. We like to razz each other. It's a real thing. And I think that like that sense of humor I've managed to use it to dig myself out of many a hole, even if that hole was one that I had dug for myself initially. So it's fine, you know? And like, I come by it rather honestly. My father is, he is the king of insult comedy. He's really good at it. He's on some Rodney Dangerfield shit. My dad is amazing at that. So that's where I learned the skill and also where I picked up the tough skin to be able to deal with it. So when I was 16, I had what felt like the biggest crush in the world on this boy that was 2 years older than me. And in the way that these things go, it felt like it took up literally all of the available emotional space that I had in my body. You know what I mean? It's just so overwhelming. And I had a deep fear of rejection. I've brought that fear into my adulthood. It has never left me. But there is something about when you're a teenager, rejection feels like it's a life or death sort of situation. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna kill you. Having it happen is gonna kill you. Having it not happen is gonna kill you. Either way, you're gonna be dead from it. So this boy that I felt so deeply for, the way that I dealt with this was that when we hung out, I tried so hard to be smart. I tried so hard to be interesting. I tried so hard to be funny. I feigned a love of folk music. And I really just tried to get him to see that we could be so good together. But like, I needed him to come to that conclusion himself, you know? But I got impatient. So, in the grand tradition of 16-year-old girls everywhere, I wrote him a letter. I delivered this letter to him via his brother because a couple weeks earlier, he had gotten kicked out of school for truancy. So, folk music and inability to finish something that he started. I feel like you guys can all see why I would be swooning over this dude. And in retrospect, his brother definitely read that letter pre-delivery. Like, I literally handed him a folded up piece of lined paper. And then I was like, you know what I mean? Like, a couple years after, I was like, oh man, Patrick always looked at me real funny after that. So, I believe you might recall what I was saying earlier, some things about my family. We all like to razz each other. So, as you can imagine, this was sort of like a big deal for me, right? Like, in my family, if you are open about your emotions, then you best be ready to have your emotions openly mocked. Because we are Irish Catholic. We're stoic, we bottle up our emotions, and we just generally don't believe in the healing powers of therapy. That shit is for pussies. Or so my dad says to me when I ask him to pay for it. I'm like, but I have a pussy. Anyways. So as you can imagine, imagine, this confession, albeit a written letter confession, was a huge deal to me. It felt all at once like a huge weight was being lifted off of my heart and being put directly on my sense of pride. So that's fine. I went back to school. It was cool because he wasn't there. Truancy, you know what I mean? He wasn't there, and then he got kicked out for not being there. So my sense of anxiety certainly was lessened for the rest of that week. But that weekend, we ended up at a house party together. So obviously, I cornered him outside in the dead of winter, and just point blank was like, so what do you think? And to his endless credit, he let me down so gently, so gently. He was like, I just don't want a relationship with anyone right now, but I value our friendship so much. To which I responded, thanks. And then when he leaned in to give me a hug, I stepped away. I held my hand up to give him a high five, a very awkward high five, possibly wait for it, an award-winning awkward high five. I looked him directly in the eyes and I said, high five? And we high-fived, and then I literally didn't see him again for 2 years. And that's totally fine. It's totally fine. But the next night, guys, I've had boyfriends since then. It's okay. It didn't stop me. So the next night, I was having dinner with my dad and my two sisters. We're sitting around the dinner table. We are talking about our weeks as we are wont to do. And for some reason, I decide that I'm going to tell them about this. I need to get this shit off my chest. As if, as if my pride was not wounded enough, you know what I mean? I was going to tell my family. So I get it out. I just wanted to get it off my chest. I wanted to get this sense of personal embarrassment out of my life. I tell them about it, and I should have known, you know what I mean? I should have known better. I should have known better. I'm not kidding you when I say that to this day, if I tell my father a story of something that's happened to me that is awkward or embarrassing, he gets this glint in his eye, and he absolutely relishes in the fact that he'll just stop and be like, well, did you go in for the high five? Thank you very much. You guys are fucking delightful.